It's 7:40. Let's do this. Is this July the rainy season? Good evening, Hampton Roads, Northeast North Carolina. My name is David Aldrich, Chief Meteorologist of WTKR News 3 Television, and you are watching First Warning Live. Did I get to I didn't get to live yet, but it's sponsored by Marco's Pizza. I can tell you that. And one of the great things we're going to look about, in addition to some rainbows and rain, is that we've seen quite a bit of all that going on in the last couple of days. But I want to first, though, talk about my sponsors since we have that loaded. I can tell you that they've got 5 convenient locations. They're giving away free pizza. Again, yes, tomorrow's the big day. We're going to announce some big winners. In fact, they're giving away free certificates so that whether it's the Pozzoli, which is a special item this week, or the Magnifico, which is a one-topping pizza, you can get a pizza certificate for a year. Basically, that's one large, one-topping monthly pizza for a year for free. And we gave away one last week. I think we gave away 10 individual pizzas last week. And we're going to do that again tomorrow, so I hope you'll join us. And the special promo code is WTKR David, which you see right here. If you go to marcos.com, you could get $5 for a Pozzoli. But I get ahead of myself. I want to talk about the weather itself, because that's why if you've come to hear about the weather, you've come to the right spot. I want to talk about the fact that is this July the rainy season? We hit 91 today. It felt like 101. Maybe it feels like that where you are right now and you're inside in the air conditioning. The record is 102, set back in 1879. I guess that was when Rutherford B. Hayes was president. 146 years ago? Yeah, that was a long time. So it's been on the books a long time. Even though it felt like 101, we didn't get to 102. That was the actual temperature. We were at 91, and it felt like 101. But when you factor in where we've been, tomorrow we're expecting 107. So that's the story. Even though we've talked a lot about rain in July, without the rain, we're not going to get much tomorrow. Repeat, we're not going to see much rain tomorrow. It'll feel like it's closer to 107. That's expected. We were at 101 earlier today, 93 yesterday, 100 on Monday, and this is going back. This is looking back in the rearview mirror. So I just want to give you some perspective. Tomorrow is going to be about 6 degrees hotter, and the Weather Service, the National Weather Service, uses a criteria, typically a benchmark of 105. So even though North Carolina is not colored in red here, I think it's prudent to note that you're going to be hot too in Elizabeth City. Doesn't mean you're not hot, but maybe you don't reach their criteria. You don't reach their threshold of 105 plus. Could be 104 for you, and you still wouldn't be turning red in their definition. Ahoskie, the same thing. Duck, you'll be in the low 90s. You might not even reach that category of heat advisory. But wanted to let you know that runs from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Starting tomorrow. So if you're on the call, let me know. I'd love to say hi to you. I do have some notes here. I see some people might be popping in. And if that's the case, I'd love to say hi to you. Let me see if I can find some posts here. Let's go back here. Let's see, the rainy season. Let's load this in. And if you have something you'd like to add, you want to say something, let me know. I'll do my best to magnify your voice. I can tell you, as I look at some of these other comments that might be popping in here, I believe I had one from earlier today. Let me go back here. See here. Find that post, and I'll put that on the screen too. So this just gives you an idea that I got Tristan on here. He's on here as well. Let's say hi to Tristan. He said, where did he go? Suddenly he disappeared for me. But this is just to give you a sample. Like what you can do, or what we can do on this call as I fly back in here, is put your picture that Facebook provides, or the one you provide Facebook, and it'll show up right on the bottom of your screen right in here. So your name would come here, and whatever you want to put in the comment, I'll do my best to answer your question. If not now, maybe even after the live stream is over, because some people watch it, most people watch it, even when it's not live. I get it. So let me do my best to get this back on the screen. I do have the capability of switching the folder here. So let's go back to the right post, as it were, and that would be Tristan. I believe Tristan had a comment. We'll see if he can populate in here. Let's see here. And if he's not, I'll just read it off the screen here. I believe Tristan was saying, why so much rain has it come? Good question. July is typically the soggiest month of the year. That's one of the headlines a lot of people miss out, right? This is one of the situations where we typically see a lot of rain in July, over 6 inches, because of these high dew points. The stickiness, the humid weather that we get from the Gulf and the Gulf Stream, typically it's July thunderstorms. Some people call them gully washers, frog stranglers, whatever type of downpours you expect. That tends to skew the average. And I'm going to get to that here in a moment. I got a note here from Debbie. Debbie says starts tomorrow. Actually, we're going to see very little rain tomorrow. It's the heat tomorrow that we're worried about because it's going to feel like 107. A week ago, yesterday, that was the 8th of July, it felt like 108 at Norfolk International. So if that's a benchmark, one of the hotter days we've had all summer, 108 a week ago yesterday on the 8th of July. We're going to be about 107 tomorrow. So I'm more concerned about the heat tomorrow. But as you know, when it rains, it can pour. There's Tristan's comment. He was wanting to know, I believe he wanted to know, let's see here, put them on the screen. He wanted to know why have we had so much rain? It's just been a situation where we've had slow moving systems. And of course, we know with these high dew points, it's like having a car wash sponge ring out on you. It's really no more complicated than that. We talked about the heat advisory. Here's the trend over the next 5 days. This should alarm a lot of people if you don't have good working air conditioning. If your air conditioner's on the fritz, whatever you call it, it's not working at full capacity, you might be concerned when it's 95. That's 4 degrees warmer than today, but you throw in 6 more degrees than it feels like. 93 on Friday. So the next 2 days are going to be more of a toll. If you work construction, you're going to the grocery store, you're going to the pharmacy, you're going to spend some time outside, just pace yourself. I expect more rain on Saturday, so the feels like isn't as extreme, mid to upper 90s, but it should bounce back up to about 103 on Sunday. I'm going to get more to this in the 7-day, but I just want to get down the field here and get you ready for what's to come. Right now we have 83 in Hampton, feels like 87. How do you know that? Because I'm looking at the heat index. The heat index is in blue. Virginia Beach feels like 86, even though it's actually 81, and so on. So these are the current readings here at 747. The danger tomorrow, in addition to maybe your pets, if your dog doesn't have enough water in his bowl, is the heat exhaustion versus a heat stroke. Sometimes you feel faint, sometimes you feel dizzy. Maybe there's a throbbing headache if you're on the right side of the screen. Maybe you have red hot dry skin versus the cool and clammy. Nobody likes to be cool and clammy, but maybe that's a sign of heat exhaustion. And you could be nauseous. You could be vomiting for either ailment, but heat exhaustion, heat stroke is to be taken seriously. You might find it in the signs of your family members. You could find it someone who's old, who's young. Just make sure that they're cared for and have plenty of water. Muscle cramps tend to be associated with exhaustion. You may even lose consciousness if you have a heat stroke. That's how bad that can be, and that's why you want to recommend calling 911 if that's ever your situation. Tomorrow could be one of those things to just get a cool shower and just get in some cool air conditioning. I recommend a grocery store. I recommend going to a movie theater if you can afford it. Maybe check out the new Superman movie. Maybe go to the library. Library is free. You can check out some books. You just hang out in the coolness or walk around the mall. We've got lots of malls. I mean, Greenbrier Mall. You can walk around the mall. It doesn't cost anything to do that. So you can get some steps in, get some exercise, and cool down, because that's what it's going to come down to if you are sweating profusely. Or maybe you've stopped sweating. Here's the tropical activity here. This is the latest possible storm that would be called Dexter. I didn't talk much about it yet, but we'll talk about it now. X marks the spot. This one's moving this way, right? This one is a storm system the National Hurricane Center is watching that would likely get the name Dexter. That's the 4th name on the list, and it's moving toward Louisiana. It's not headed here. But if you're in the military, you got family in the Gulf Coast communities, they're going to see some flooding, whether it gets a name or not. It doesn't necessarily have to be called Dexter to say, hey, I got pounded. Just ask the people in Burlington, North Carolina, who had some cases, or Chapel Hill, they had so much rain from a tropical depression named Chantal. It doesn't take much of a storm to cause issues. So Chantal was the last one. Dexter is the next name on the list. We'll keep an eye on that and see how that plays out. Kind of curious as I'm multitasking and checking on your comments. I see a note from Justin. He says, my wife's wheelchair, let me pull back the camera here. My wife's wheelchair has been making noise. Is it from the humidity? I sweat profusely. That I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I'm not an expert on creaks and WD-40 on creaky doorknobs and so forth. But you definitely want to check out. It could play a role. I'm sure there's a lot of bugs come out when it's really humid too. Lots of insects will come out. Lots of critters, and that's one of the things that people notice in the summertime when it gets really hot and humid. But back to the tropical moment. This is not the peak season yet. We're getting closer. We're in the middle of July, but I want to caution you that we usually see a ramping up of tropical storms. Historically, that's September 10th. September 10th is the very tippy top of this bar graph. So if you look at this stop, around the 10th of September is when things really start to peak. And it's also the time where we usually see something in the Atlantic at that time. Doesn't mean it's hitting the East Coast or the Gulf, but it is certainly possible. Here are my headlines in bullet form. Even hotter tomorrow. Feels like about 107, so please pace yourself tomorrow. Tomorrow being Thursday the 17th. And then storms will come in late, but it's only a 30% chance. And storms mainly afternoon Friday, about a 40% chance. The weekend right now looks mainly afternoon storms, but still humid. I hope that gives you some help there. And as far as the beach forecast is concerned, yes, surf height will be a little higher simply because we've got winds 10 to 20. They could be gusting 25 to 30 on Thursday. So you've got a hot, humid, hazy day. Very little rain, 30% chance. I'm trying to paint the picture. Water temperatures near 80. You got a low tide around 705, and that usually is coincidental with rip currents, which is still relatively low, but you never want to let your guard down there. If the water temperature is near 80, well, that sounds like we're doing pretty good. This is consistent with July. This is an average. Doesn't mean it's 78 or 79 everywhere. If you go up and down the eastern shore, basically if you go up to the Chesapeake Bay and so forth, it could be varied. But if you're in the Virginia Beach area, typically it's July and August we see those warm temperatures. All right, transitioning a little bit back to some rain. And I want to mention, if you haven't picked up a Pozzoli, you got to try this awesome product because it's great. Next time you have the urge to go to the drive-thru, why spend 10, 12 bucks on a meal when you can get something that's very filling? This picture doesn't do it justice. That's why it's my favorite item. If you go to marcos.com and type in WTKR David, my favorite is the pepperoni and sausage. It's like a calzone or a stromboli. You would probably have stromboli. It's much bigger and it's very filling. Usually it's probably twice the price, if not close to that. So my recommendation is check it out. It is the deal of the week and it's only good through Saturday. Very thankful for our sponsor at Marcos. I mentioned they were giving away free pizza certificates for a year tomorrow. We're giving one away, and I believe 10 extra pies will go out at the door like they did last Thursday. The Pozzoli is a great item if you haven't tried it, and Marcos, 5 locations that are participating in this contest. 3 in Virginia Beach, 1 in Greenbrier, and 1 in Chesapeake there, and 1 in Norfolk on Hampton Boulevard. So just want to get back to the weather, but wanted to thank my sponsor for all that they do. By the way, satellite radar shows a few showers right now around Currituck. This does not look very extreme. In fact, it's just the opposite of extreme. It's just some light rain or drizzle around Currituck County, possibly into Camden County, but this is working its way out of the picture. This is in the here and now. It's 7:52, almost 7:53, so by the time some of you watch this, maybe an hour from now or much later, this had no relevance to you whatsoever. But it is the last of the rain. For the most part, there's some vigorous storms that are approaching D.C., which we'll look at here in just a moment, the bigger picture anyway. For those of you that are traveling tonight, you should be fine. Most of the rain is pulling out. Where it does get active and vigorous is back toward, say, northern Virginia and sliding into western Maryland at this time. The severe weather threat appears to be up there for the rest of tonight. That's one thing I like to show you. There's also a risk, although it's small, green area here in Williamsburg, maybe an isolated severe thunderstorm tomorrow and the eastern shore. And then on Friday, it's a nothing. Nothing, no coloring here whatsoever on Friday. We are not expecting severe weather. But I wanted to go back to this because we have so many in the military. You might be interested to know, what's it look like back home? I don't know where home is for you, so leave me a comment. I'll do my best to put you on the screen and magnify you as best I can. Let's see here. See, Justin saying he's excited about one thing. I think he's excited about free pizza. All you have to do is sign up. Go to WTKR.com/Marcos and you can check it out, Justin. By the way, these severe storms that are now northeast of Denver, it would appear there's even a tornado warning right here. I'll zoom in just to give you some clarity on this. This is like, Morgan County, Washington County in mountain time until 6 o'clock. They've got hail size about 1.75, which is very large. Much larger, almost golf ball size or bigger. So some big hail and some potential tornadoes there. We got back to the middle part of the country. You've got some severe weather in both Indiana and it looks like into parts of southern Illinois. The one in Indianapolis, or at least west of it, is for Boone, Hendricks, Marion until 8 p.m. Central Time, and that hail size is a little smaller than a penny. And then I've mentioned there's a lot more vigorous thunderstorms popping up, approaching the nation's capital. Looks like Manassas and Fairfax and some others are in effect until 8:15. So that's where things are at the moment. I got a question from Justin. I love having the conversation. Let's fly back in here. What's the website? He wants to know what the website is. Very good question. Very good question. I'll take your comment off here. The website right here I'm circling it for you. Go to WTKR.com. That's our webpage, /Marcos to sign up for some free pizza. We've given away, goodness, I think we've given almost 75 individual pizzas and or certificates combined. We're going to be closing in on 100 before the end of this month. So a lot of people have been getting these certificates for free Marcos, and I love the fact that Marcos gives back to the community. I've worked with them for 3.5, 4 years now, and they're constantly giving back, whether it be the military, to school kids, middle school kids, high school kids. They give back quite a bit, and they're giving back to you. So they love weather. Why not do it? It's just real easy to give back free pizza so that you can try their product and see if you like it. I'm a fan just simply because they're so community oriented and because the pizza is fantastic. All right, so let me go back. I'm going to go back to the satellite radar. Now we go to the rain situation. I want to answer the question, is this July the rainy season? Well, so far, it's middle of the month. I believe it's the 16th. And we didn't have anything measurable at the airport today. So this is a goose egg. This is a nothing burger. This is maybe a trace. The big rain that we had at the airport was back a week ago tomorrow, so 1.83. We have now had a total of 3 1/3. All right? We averaged 6.08. So I talked about the higher dew points are common in the months of July and August. So typically it's not uncommon to have the averages skewed a little higher. So when you look at the Norfolk normal rainfall, typically this is the rainiest month of the year. So some people get all caught off guard and go, oh my goodness, I've never seen July rainy so much. And some cases that may be true, but you also have to take into account that this is usually, and followed up quickly, I might add, by August, 5.88. Those are the two soggiest months historically, based on the last 30 years from the National Weather Service in Wakefield for Norfolk. So I'm just pointing this out. If you put things into context about how far above normal are we, today was 91. That was 1 degree above normal. Would that send any alarm bells? Woo, woo. No, I don't think so. I mean, maybe it did for you because it felt like 101. But when you look at the rainfall amount, we've had now over 3 1/3 inches. We're halfway through the month. We're almost on we're on par. Now, some communities have had 3 inches in a few hours. That's been the problem. So we're always talking about a point forecast. Norfolk International, no one I know lives at Norfolk International. They travel through there. They work there if they maybe work at an airline. But these are the numbers. I just wanted to point out that these are typical. They're a lot more than what you typically see in February. February, when we had our snow, some of you remember the snowstorm, 2.90, that's typically the driest month of the year based on 30-year averages. So hopefully I answered the website question. Hopefully I answered this other question. I appreciate the comments. Thank you, Taj Brownie's on here, says WTKR. Love that you guys are interacting. Appreciate that. I got to keep moving. It's 7:58. I want to keep this on time. I also want to talk a little bit about my experience with Dave Parker. I ran into Dave Parker on Monday. I actually sought him out, but I'll explain that coming up at the end. So if you want to hear my Dave Parker story continued, stay with me. By the way, Norfolk 6.08. We've had now 3 1/3. High temperature was 91 today in Hampton, Newport News, Williamsburg, as well as Norfolk, while Virginia Beach hit 90. You take a look or take into account the fact that this was the first 90-degree day in a week. Now, I know that will send some people on fire. They go, no. It was like 90 yesterday. It felt like 101 yesterday or today. Felt like it was about that on Monday too. So we've had feels like temperatures above 90. But when you're looking at actual temperature without you putting your foot on the scale with the humidity, because it's all about the heat and the humidity, what it feels like, these are the actual numbers. And that's kind of sobering given the fact that we haven't really had a 90-degree day since last Wednesday. 91 today, 95. And that puts 11 days technically below normal. We are pretty much on par as far as the temperature because we don't keep records in terms of the feels like. The feels like temperatures come from our beloved wind engineers. They also crafted together the wind chill factor, right? Well, what's it feel like in the winter? Well, when you look at the 90-degree days, I haven't had a chance. I do believe I updated this. Yeah, today. So now we had our first 90-degree day technically in a week. We've had, 95 on July 9th, 96. So all told, 412, 21. I believe we're up to 19. Is that right? 19 days. We typically see about half the month of July based on numbers from the National Weather Service. And it should be no secret that we typically see a little more than a month's worth, 36. And so far we're at 19. So it will trail off typically in August, usually about 9 days. September we typically see about 2. So we're not quite to football season yet, but I do know it's 8 o'clock and I got to keep moving because I do know I've got some other cool things I want to show you. As we go back and show you the multiple sources, have the First Warning weather app. This is our News 3 weather app. It's free to download. You get lightning alerts. You get other alerts when there's heat advisories, all the rest. Also, having it with the NOAA weather radio is great in case you lose power on your phone, which tends at late in the afternoon. Maybe your battery starts to diminish. Our temperature right now, 83 in Portsmouth, 80 in Currituck, and 81 in Elizabeth City. Our friends in Kitty Hawk feel like 83 right now. This is the feels like 86 in Franklin. So I got some other notes. Now, this is what's amazing, right? You look at this number. This is the dew point number. The most of everybody's in the mid 70s. That's pretty oppressive. When the dew point's anywhere in the 70s, it feels between muggy and it feels a bit oppressive. So come back on camera here. Now, some of you are like, tomorrow when it feels like 107, right? Some of you are going to be like, oh, let's see, I don't know about that. Let me see if I can take a selfie of what it's going to be like. Let me see if I can come back here. Let me go back here. Yep, let's see if I can take a selfie of what this is going to be like. Oh, 107. Oh, I feel sick. I feel so. I don't want that to happen to you. I don't want that to happen to you. So hopefully what will happen tomorrow is that you'll be prepared. You say, hey, I was watching this thing called First Warning Live, and they told me it was going to feel like 107. Maybe this is a great opportunity to check on your neighbors. Check on your elderly, your neighbors, old and young, because maybe not everybody takes 107. They don't take that number very easily. So I want you to make sure that you're prepared for the extreme. And that may be what it is. As we come back on camera, 75 is the dew point in Richmond, 74 in Virginia Beach. Our numbers aren't going to move much. That's the sad part, right? We're in the mid 70s, and that humidity by far and away, if you don't need a legend, maybe you do. It's right here. It's unpleasant. 70 to 75, and it's not going to change. It's July, right? You expect it to be cold in February or January. You kind of expect hot, humid weather in July, like a firecracker. Right now it's 84 in Richmond. I want to say hi to my friends in Knoxville. Was there 15 years. I've been here for about 4 months and counting. Virginia Beach currently at 81 degrees. Our temperatures around the country right now are very hot in the parts like Little Rock, maybe Vegas at 104, but there's some colder air. Last week I told you there was a good chance we could get cooler by the 19th or 20th, and last I checked it's only the 16th. Some of this cool air is trying to come down. Some of it's trying to nose in here, and some of you, if you were into the Dakotas right now, you'd be like, man, it feels great. So I want to show you this picture again. There is some indications. This is like a 10-day outlook. This is at 5,000 feet. Think of this as basically your 850 millibar temperatures, but it just suggests that some of the cooler air in Canada does try to work its way down, maybe toward the end of the period. It's not going to be as hot or as humid. Anytime I see some yellows here, like I do around Detroit, maybe around the Big Apple, we'll see hopefully some changes here down the road. I've got some other comments that might be coming in. I see Tristan, I see Denmark's on here. He's giving a shout out to Brad Wolf. Let's see here. I got Tristan on here. I got Denmark. I haven't seen him in a while. Great to see him. And let's see, Brad Wolf says, let's see here. Justin wanted to know about the website. We talked about that already. It's WTKR.com/Marcos to sign up. We'd love to have you participate in the free contest. Temperature trend. I've already kind of shown this, but we're in the mid-90s the next 2 days. 803, 89, 93, 88. Something to think about as far as the heat, but it's not just the temperature, it's the heat index. It feels like heat index, same thing. If I were to say tomato, say tomato, same thing. If you hear the word heat index and you hear feels like temperature, it's exactly the same thing. And you're seeing like 107, 104 the next 2 days, and it will likely bounce back up maybe on Sunday for the second half of the weekend. The reason it's a little bit muted on Saturday is because I think the chance of rain is going to be a little higher to 60%. That's something we'll wait and see how that plays out. So there is my 60% chance of rain. So it doesn't mean it rains all day. I think it's mainly afternoon, both Saturday and Sunday, as we're now looking right now at the rainfall expectations. I love these products. They have great utility, but you got to know their limitation. And this would take us through 11 o'clock Sunday night through the weekend, and it would suggest that most of the heavier rains, suggest like it's inland Virginia, right? Because it looks like the Outer Banks, they get a measly 2/10. Maybe the Eastern Shore gets only 3/10. So it's not necessarily going to be all that valuable to look at this map unless, it could be localized. It could be different from neighborhood to neighborhood. If you look at the rainfall potential regionally, it's pretty high back toward Roanoke at 1.5 inches. That takes you through the same time frame of 11 p.m. on Sunday. So I'm trying to just give you some perspective. Some of the modeling have some great value, but sometimes they have limitations too. 803, 805, I should say. Now, here's your Eastern Shore of Virginia forecast. 92 for Bloxham, 92 for Onancock, expecting 90 in beautiful Cape Charles tomorrow, 90 degrees, 92 in Exmoor, and if you travel down to the Outer Banks, about 92 for Kill Devil Hills, 91 Manio and Rodanthe. Both Ocracoke and Hatteras, notice a very small chance for rain here, 10-20%. It's not going to be, we're going to bake tomorrow. When I say bake, I mean we're basically going to take we're going to cook, we're going to bake, because if you don't have the storms, and if they come towards sunset, you have all day to get to 95. And with those dew points in the mid-70s, low to mid-70s, 107 is going to be easy to achieve for some places, like a Suffolk, like a Franklin. Some places will exceed 107, but 107 I think is going to be a good target to expect around Norfolk tomorrow. The Storm Prediction Center highlighting some dark green areas for isolated. Yellow would be scattered severe storms. Here's what I expect, or they expect, through the 8 o'clock time frame tomorrow. We've already looked at Denver areas northeast. They had a tornado warning, so they're under the scattered severe storms between now and tomorrow. Kansas City, you might have some rock and roll weather, isolated, and so could Chicago. If you have a flight in and out and you're in the military, you have family in Milwaukee or Green Bay, they could have some scattered severe storms now through 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Nothing going on here. Now, what we get tomorrow is going to come in very late, so when you look at this map and you say, oh, well, there's some green there in North Dakota and Montana, that's great for them, maybe some isolated storms around Louisville and the state of Kentucky, the Commonwealth of Kentucky tomorrow, or all of West Virginia, D.C., New York, all the way up to New England. But it really kind of cuts part of our viewing area in a little slice there. So it includes Williamsburg, it includes York County, James City County. Some areas could have some very late sunset type storms that could be strong to severe. By Friday, there's very little coloring. The Storm Prediction Center sees one spot between Omaha and Des Moines where there could be, or Sioux City, where there could be some isolated severe storms, but really Friday is pretty much an easy travel day. No severe weather expected here. Rain certainly could still be an issue. But if we come back on cameras, we're going to wrap things up here. Just want to show you, this is probably overstated, but it has shown signs near DC. We get this cluster of storms at 11 o'clock. It moves to the right and moves away. Notice the winds, 14. They're going to be 10 to 20 for much of the day tomorrow. That's 7 a.m. Noontime, there's still nothing in sight as far as rain projected at noon on Thursday. That's why we have a good chance of getting so hot. Even by 5 o'clock, it's way over there on the left side of the screen. So we have 5 o'clock, maybe 7 o'clock. Some models want to bring in a shower. It's 30% chance or less tomorrow. I don't expect a lot of rain on Thursday. Now, once we go into Thursday night, maybe a few down toward the Outer Banks. Friday morning looks dry, but afternoon, lo and behold, when it rains, it pours. Can you give me some evidence? I think I just did. Full screen this thing. You could see right over Franklin, right over areas around Suffolk. You could see some downpours, and maybe south of Duck, down toward maybe Roanoke Island, Manio, Wanchese. So you've got the potential for downpours on Friday. And again, will this be the rainy season? That's really in the eye of the beholder. I just mentioned that it is an average that we usually see a lot of rain in July. Thursday morning, we're in the upper 70s. We look at Thursday's highs. I expect we'll hit 94 in Suffolk, 95 in Hampton, Cape Charles about 90. And if you look at Norfolk, about 95, 93 for Moyock, and Gatesville should be aiming for a high about 94 tomorrow. Thursday afternoon will be in the mid-90s, but again, that's the actual temperature. If you judge it based on your car thermometer, you're going to be in the triple digits, no doubt, because the car is pretty close to the engine and also the asphalt. 7-day forecast. Here's your first warning, WTKR News 3 7-day forecast. 93 Friday, 89 on Saturday. We're barely getting below 80 tomorrow night. This should be an alarm to anybody who's sensitive to humidity. Well, if you can't get below 80 at night, you're going to have a hard time sleeping, especially if you're relying on a ceiling fan to get you cool. So please find some cooling centers. I mentioned grocery store, movie theater, shopping mall, grocery center, place, wherever, or library. Library's free. Check it out. But these are the hot days, and you've got another one on Sunday. But there is a drop in the precipitation based on what I see now. based on today's data, 30%, 20%, 10%. So hopefully we can dry things out, and those who want to spend the time at the beach can enjoy this summer without having to look over their shoulder for the next downpour. Sometimes that can be a bit taxing. I understand that. Beautiful pictures, some happy shots here at Virginia Beach. Thanks to Mr. Wynn. He shared these great pictures with the birds and some rainbows. How could you not have rainbows when it rains so much? This is from Marvin. Man Barnes, thank you so much for sharing this picture in Gloucester Point. And there might be 2 pots of gold overlooking Gwynns Island in Matthews County. Keith Beers, thank you so much for sharing this. And I don't know if many of you know this, some of you have heard this, maybe you don't know this, but you know when you see a double rainbow, the colors are inversed. So if you go red, blue, they're in the opposite coloring when you have the secondary rainbow as opposed to the first. And since this one's over the ocean, I'm assuming there's a pot of gold here, and the other pot of gold is somewhere in Matthews County in Gwynns Island. So good luck on finding it. But I can tell you this, there's probably another great place to find some gold. I call it a Pozzoli. You want to check it out by using the promo code WTKR David. The $5 Pozzoli, it's almost like half price. Check it out. They got the pepperoni and sausage, chicken bacon ranch, and buffalo chicken. We're going to be giving away free pizza starting tomorrow again, and I'm so excited about that. There's 5 convenient locations to check out. So again, very thankful for our friends at Marco's. Want to finish up here as it's now 8:10. On Monday, as I reset here, my mindset is on Monday, I had a chance to go back and run into a friend of mine. He probably didn't remember me as well as I remembered him, because you know when you meet someone who's an inspiration. I'm going to show you this picture. This is Dave Parker. Some of you remember Dave Parker like this because he works at the country station, US 1061. But Dave was the chief meteorologist here for almost a decade. And Dave Parker worked with our own Kurt Williams for many years. But Dave Parker now works in radio. Does a great job at the radio, and he and I were able to share and compare notes because when he worked in Huntington, West Virginia, which was his stop before it was here, he had worked at WWK, and I was running his teleprompter, which, if you know much about weather, you don't need a teleprompter, right? I've been doing this now for 30 minutes or so. I haven't had any notes to look at. So one of the things that's amazing about Dave is that he was not only professional and cool and smooth, but he was the first meteorologist that I witnessed with my own 2 eyes. I was in the studio, and I would watch him nightly in the summer way back in the mid-90s. And before he came here, I got a chance to see him, and I thought, wow, I think I could do something like that. But I needed some help. I needed to get a degree. I needed to take the 4 semesters of calculus, physics, atmospheric physics, oceanography, statistics, all of that stuff. And you can take all that and still be wrong? Yeah. That's the humility of it. Isn't that amazing that you can take all that math and still get it wrong from time to time? But Dave will tell you, as he can tell you very well, that working in Hampton Roads, this is home for him. This has been a joy to be able to work in his hometown. Dave has been an inspiration for me. It's many reasons why we do what we do in the weather world. I can't thank him enough. But like I said, many of you remember him back when he was the chief back in the late 90s, early 2000s. But Dave was super kind. And we're doing a story now that we're in our 75th year. I'm going to be talking to Dave more, hopefully in the future, about some of the big weather events. You know, like Hurricane Hazel, 1954. We were talking about all kinds of historical events that have occurred here. And if you have some that you remember, share them with me, because we want to put that on the news. We're going to put a piece together here in August. So bear with me. We'll have more on that to come. But in the meantime, just remember, it doesn't matter if the weather is sunny or if it's serious. Every day is a gift. Make the most of it in your neighborhood. See you tomorrow. Take care.